Safia, you can start.
Yeah, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Shafi Mushikoka, and today I'm going to share about subconscious learning versus conscious learning. Actually, language should be learned subconsciously, not consciously. It's much better than conscious learning. You can learn faster subconsciously, but if you learn consciously, you can't speak well, can't understand native speakers. Subconscious learning is more effective than conscious learning. Subconsciously, you can enjoy speaking, reading books, watching movies. You never think about the grammar rules. Of course, the effortless learning system is subconscious learning system. If you learn naturally, you will be more effective. It will be more effective for you. You don't think about grammar rules. Subconsciously, our brain learn English grammars. Our speaking skills will improve by it. We must trust ourselves. So many students are afraid about learning subconsciously. They don't trust their brains. So don't be one of those students. Learn English subconsciously and finally speak excellent English. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much, Prabga. Thanks for sharing. Excellent, well done. So our next participant is Fardin Khan. Fardin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear very
Yes.
clearly.
Yeah, speak loudly.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, you can start, Fardin.
Uh, So according to the speech and the audio clip, he said that language shall be learned subconsciously but not consciously. I mean, he was right because if we try to learn consciously, we will not be able to understand every aspect of the language correctly. So subconsciousness consciousness is important. I mean, you need to learn that thing. I mean, you have to enjoy the thing that you are learning, and if you enjoy the thing, then you will be able to learn it much nicely. Even if you learn slow, but you will learn more specifically, and you will be able to understand all the situations, all the aspects that needs to be learned to
Right,
learn
right.
that
Excellent.
language.
As I have given some examples, real life examples that you have memorized so many composition paragraphs all through your life, from class one to up to this class, current class. But
Yeah.
if you can recollect, try to recollect all those things right now, you'll find that zero. That means you can't recollect. But when you're learning a language naturally, subconsciously, in your whole life, you never forget the thing or you never forget the language. So language is a thing that must be learned subconsciously, not consciously. But I am not also suggesting you to avoid or ignore that method. That conscious learning is also important. When you are learning something, it's really important to understand it properly. But the experts suggest that actually you should apply that type of method. That means learn a language naturally. And I have already suggested how you can learn a language naturally. Okay, so thank you so much, Fardin.
You are welcome.
Okay, so Nihal,
Yes, sir.
yeah, you can
Can you
start.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What do you think?
So the
Which one is better? That subconscious learning or conscious learning?
I think both, because if we want to learn the language, or if we want to learn speaking English, then we need subconscious learning. And if I want to learn, um,
Suppose you are learning a grammar rule, actually, you need to understand it, right? But
then I want to learn
most of the
conscious
time,
learning.
what we learn or what we memorize, after a certain period of time, we find that we have forgotten everything. Suppose you have
Yes, so that
learned
is the
so
result of
many
conscious
rules,
learning.
yes. But when you are applying or when you are learning the same grammar through using a language or learning a language naturally, I think that thing becomes permanent, right?
Yes, that's
So
more
what do
effective.
you think? What do you think? How is it possible to learn a language naturally? What are the procedures we can follow or we should follow?
I have told before that we want a surrounding, good surrounding that is English speakers. We have to speak English with friends and with also with family members. We can. So have to, and we also have to watch English drama, cinemas. Also read to read. We also can read articles
Yeah,
in English.
right. So Fardin has
It
said,
will help.
actually, I think I accept the thing I just said before, that when you are learning something, try to learn with interest. That means when you find something interesting, you learn that thing with
More faster.
100% concentration. Just like when you're reading a story, horror story or comic story or a romantic story, you just try to grasp the inner meaning, or you just try to keep your concentration level up to 100%, that you try to understand, you try to interpret the language. Why? Because you are really interested to learn the meaning, or you are interested to grasp to know the inner message of the story. So when you are learning something with interest, actually that becomes permanent. That becomes um, what I will tell. That becomes really effective for you. Okay. Thank you so much, Nihal. I can see there are so many. Okay, Mazharul Islam, what do you think? What do you understand by conscious learning? Mazharul, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I have.
Yeah.
I didn't
So,
understand the topic.
yeah, I'm asking, what do you understand by conscious learning? Subconscious learning, do you have any idea about subconscious learning?
No, sir, I can't.
Okay, so listen. We are discussing about the topic, so you can listen to the speakers so that you can understand it better. Soundhan, explain shortly what is conscious and subconscious learning, and I request Mazharul Haq to listen Soundhan to understand the topic. Soundhan.
Okay, so, so let me start. So language can be learned in many ways. The subconscious and conscious learning are one of them. So
Speak
many
loudly,
researchers say
Soundhan.
that
Speak loudly. Hold your
many
mic.
researchers, okay,
Yes, yes.
many researchers say that conscious learning is a lot easier and affecting than the conscious learning, especially on the case of learning any language. And so the conscious learning is basically a learning system based on brain. We mostly need to memorize things and try to memorize grammars and other steps to learn consciously, and we could just learn this conscious kind of things from like translating things or memorizing new programs or learning new grammar, and subconsciously we could just learn those naturally. And oh yeah, the conscious ones could mostly be temporary because they could be anytime we could forget them because they couldn't be remembered or commemorated all the time, because we just memorize them, not it's not effective for our brains. And if we just learn subconsciously, it is fully natural and we can learn it for permanent, and we can like
Yeah,
always
thank you so
remember it
much,
once we learn.
Soundhan. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so Azmiri, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yeah, what do you understand by subconscious learning?
Conscious learning. When we learn anything subconsciously, then we learn it fastly and naturally. Then we can, when we hear any story or saw any movie, then we can enjoy it and hear it properly, and then we learn that thing that is more affected than which we memorize that.
Yeah, I got it. That means you want to say that the things we memorize, we forget. but the things we learn from the storytelling, from from watching movies, from listening songs. So we never forget those things. And at that time we learn natural, that's why we don't forget. Thank you so much, Nivedita. What do you understand by conscious learning?
So when we learn English consciously,
Can you set an
we
example how we learn English consciously or learn a language consciously?
example.
Okay, so when we try to understand any grammar, we try to focus. We read over and over again. We sometimes we memorize. When we memorize a paragraph, when we memorize some translation, that means we try to read from the book as well as we try to recollect it. So this is conscious method. That means you are trying to learn something by memorizing, and then you recollect it. You try to recollect it. So this is conscious learning. Anything you want to say, Nivedita?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Nivedita. Noman, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think? Which one is effective, conscious or subconscious method?
If for a specific reason, mean a particular time, like in the exam time, we need to need the information to write in our exam book. So at that time, everyone does the unnatural thing that they try to memorize it. But after the exam, we forgot it almost all. So for a specific time, memorizing is good, but for the lifetime and for every moment of the life, the natural thing learning consciously is must.
Yeah, good point shared by Noman. Actually, when we prepare ourselves for the exam, we need to memorize something, especially especially their science subject who has a science subject here, you know that you need to you cannot write down naturally that there are some things. You must memorize it, you must recollect it, and you try to write down in the exam copy or notebook. But actually, that's why there has been mentioned conscious method is not a bad thing. Both are effective. But when you are learning a language, remember, when you are learning a language, suppose you are learning Chinese language, you are learning English language, you are learning Arabic language. When you are especially learning a language, you always follow this method. That means subconscious method. Because if you cannot learn a language naturally, you cannot recollect those things because it's language. And why do you need language? We need language to communicate with each other. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have understood. Still, if you have problem, you can collect the audio clip through WhatsApp. You can knock me because it's very short audio clip, you know.